Hello and welcome to another Wednesday audio video with me, Harry Quinn. This time I'm going to be restringing my acoustic guitar, also applying a bit of this mineral stuff to clean the fretboard. I've just done some gigs and I've got some gigs coming up, and I typically have my acoustic guitar so it will be strung either until a string breaks. I'm quite percussive with stuff, but also I try and keep things fresh every couple of months, have a new set of strings, and today I'm going to try some new strings. So usually I use Martin Phosphor Bronze 12 gauge, and I'm going to be experimenting with some Ernie Ball Earthwood medium light, also 12 gauge. Not sponsored, just giving them a try, so let's see how it goes. So first step, I have these things to deaden resonances beyond the nut, so I'll get rid of this stuff here. Just a bit of string and also a cable Velcro tie here. I'll do some close-ups also in a minute, but this is just the initial stuff. Similarly, to prevent some noises against the bridge pins, I put this sort of fabric tape over the top. Of those bridge pins. Okay, and then now I'm just going to detune the guitar. I'm not using a winder, I'm just going to do this. And this seems like a pretty natural time to go into the close-ups. Okay, so just continuing with the close-ups, just undoing this little knot here. Need to unwind the string a little bit more. And then I'll pull that through. I won't show you all of this, but I'm just gonna, without cutting the strings off, I'm just gonna take them out. So yeah, I'll be back when all the strings are removed and I'll show you my process for using the natural mineral oil. Okay, all the strings are off. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe a bit of the sort of pick dust out of the bridge area, give them a little bit of a clean. The pick guard itself, a bit of using this microfiber cloth and the rest of the body. Okay, now I'm going to address the fretboard. Not dress the fretboard, but just address the fretboard. So I've got this other slightly nasty, previously used for this particular job, rag, microfiber cloth, and I just unscrew this funny. It's got a bit of a funny push-pull screw top, but this is called F1 oil, Music Nomad, not sponsored. And with the fretboard sort of level, I'm just going to give right. So having removed the lid, I discovered that it's actually congealed a bit in the lid, or in the little dispenser funnel here. So I cut the end of the guitar string and I made sure that everything was free and loose. So now it's freely pouring, so if I just discard that for a second, now I can carefully, also goes to show how long ago it's in pretty nice shape, but I tend to do this process with the oil maybe once or twice a year, so it doesn't really need that much in my opinion. And maybe I'll do about sort of 4 fret spaces initially. See how well you can see those dots. Not too much, and then I'll get this and I'll give it a good work in, rub right at the end as well. Has an interesting smell. There are other brands and different sort of liquids out there that do a similar thing. I find it not only helps with the wood, sort of with its longevity and moisture content, but also gives it quite a nice sort of clean and sheen. I also go on the inside and outside of the frets, so I go along the top and then the bottom of the frets as well. So this whole process will take me probably about 10 minutes or so. And just keep working in, cleaning it up, and then depending on how long between the last time you did it, you get some pretty nasty stuff on the end of your rag. But yeah, so there's the first 4 fret sort of sections there, and I'll just keep going with sort of 4x4, 2 dots in each bit of wood between the frets, and just keep going. Also, ideally you want to then keep it fairly level, so that there's not some uneven seepage going on. And this is just a basic thing to keep your guitar in reasonable shape, and just keep the longevity, everything nice and sort of clean, sounding good. And also, I find this sort of thing in life in general, if you're cleaning things like cars or bicycles, guitars, then you notice and identify any problems or any breakages or anything that you may not automatically see unless you give it a more sort of a forensic look after job. Okay, so you can probably, it's probably quite difficult on this camera, but there's to my eye, it's definitely got a nice sort of sheen going in comparison with down the neck. Hopefully you can make that out. Anyway, I'll continue and I will report back once I've done it all. I've just reached the 5th fret here. Hopefully you can just about see the relative shininess and sheen. Let's carry on. Okay, so that's pretty much done now. Looks pretty nice and shiny and clean. Next thing that I typically do when I restring is I get a sharp pencil, and in a nut I just add a bit of the graphite into the slots just to improve the friction situation, or rather to reduce the friction. I know there are lots of products on the market that that are more sort of oil-based lubricants, coming in various sometimes comical, or if you read into it, comical looking things, but this is my preferred method. It's relatively clean, it doesn't leave any sort of sticky residues or anything like that, so this is what I do. It may not be quite as robust and long lasting as the others, but if I'm changing strings every couple of months, then this is usually okay, certainly for my purposes, and maybe beyond the focal length of this camera and my lighting, but that's what it looks like. Now this is actually very big for me. Changing strings is quite a big deal in my opinion. So these new ones, again, not sponsored or influenced by anything on this choice really, apart from preference, availability, cost and curiosity. So I'll just show you how I do one string and then leave it there for the restringing purpose. First step is I get the ball end here and I give it a little break angle, just a little twist so that it's not completely straight. And then, if I can show you with 2 hands, I just put it into the saddle here, put the bridge pin back on in line so that the groove is, if you can see that, the groove is facing down the fretboard. Take the tension up so that it's not going to have extra slippage. It may mess up the tuning and generally be annoying when you start tensioning up and tuning the string. Pull it through the machine head here, tuning peg. At the 5th fret, this is along the lines of a Martin guitar video that's been shown, widely shown. So 5th fret, pull it out so gives you enough sort of slack, and then bring this around the tuning peg underneath the string here, sort of symmetrically opposite when I get to the lighter strings. So, but anyway, underneath here, underneath, and then back over, pinch it, finger in the slot there, then that should be fairly well secure, and then I just tighten up the peg, make sure that it doesn't move anywhere, and then I push down underneath so that the successive winds go underneath go underneath the winding string. But there aren't too many successive winds because I've already done quite a lot of that sort of slack process. So hopefully you can just about see what's going on there. Okay, and then the other thing you have to be cautious of is the bridge pin popping up. That's been okay because I did made sure the slack was okay, but also do keep an eye on that. Okay, and then don't get too carried away because it's obviously going to tune the whole guitar later. And then just get a pair of snips here, and then make sure this is in camera. About 1 centimetre, so you know, 1/2 inch, less than 1/2 inch, something like that. That comes off, and then I just push that so that the whole thing is quite neat. It's not popping out at a strange angle, damaging any internals of gig bags or cases or fingers when you get close to it. So that's pretty much what I do for each string. Okay, so the strings are on, standard tuning, that's what I always do. I'm going to have to stretch them in a bit, so I've got a tuner in front of me, just my phone, and I'm just going to be literally just getting the string, pulling it a bit, and this will inevitably make the guitar go out of tune again. But this is pretty important for making sure that eventually the strings will stay in tune better. So now we can hear. So that's now pretty out of tune, not terrible. So if I just bring it up to pitch again, and I do this process probably 3 times. At a gig, maybe not so much if a string breaks. Just give it a quick stretch and go, but I do this 2 or 3 times. Yeah, so anyway, first impressions of the strings. They're pretty snappy, pretty bright. I would say my first impression perhaps not quite as, obviously I'm not as familiar with them as my usual Martin set, but I'll certainly give these a good go. I think ultimately my first impression ultimately my first impression is maybe not quite as ringing as the Martin ones, but I think probably future gigging and plenty of that coming up, so that will be the real test of it, and I'll see how I get on. Anyway, so that was the restringing of this guitar. Anyway, any questions about this stuff, let me know in the comments. Thanks very much for watching this Wednesday audio video. Do this every week. See you next time.